I was born and raised in downtown Toronto, Christie and DuPont area, which went to Essex Street School, public school, elementary level, and then went on to Harvard Collegiate and graduated from there. When the war started, everybody knew that eventually, the young guy would have to go to war. And so I had made up my mind that I sure didn't want to join the infantry, and I didn't like the idea of being on a ship and, for the rest of my war days. And so I thought, okay, I'll join the Air Force. I had never been away from home. And I found that the shock of living in a strange environment, which would be the Manning Pool, which was the old horse palace at the exhibition. The shock of sort of meeting guys who were in many cases much older than I, many at the same age, but had lived in an entirely different environment. For example, you go to the washroom, and none of the cubicles had any doors on them. Well, I was always very private about that sort of thing, and it was bothersome, a real adjustment, and it was difficult at first, and I tended to be alone, at that time, because I had joined up by myself, and most of the guys who joined up had joined up with one or two buddies, and so they always had these small groups all the time. And I was alone. However, got through that. One of the things that they sort of put you through as a recruit is this business of vaccination. They stick you with about 10 different needles. Well, they blind us up, and there's a battery of doctors side by side, and the thing is, you put your hands on your hips like this, and you march through. And as you march through, these guys just stab you in the arm. And I thought there was 100 stabs, but I guess there wasn't. But anyway, so I'm watching all these guys go through and getting the inoculations, and I reached the head of the line, and bang, I went down. So what actually happened was there were two MPs or SPs, service policemen, on the side. They just grabbed me and just dragged me through the lineup, and I guess that's how I got inoculated. I eventually found my way to my bunk, and I just had sore arms like you wouldn't believe. But that was my initiation into the Air Force. We did all the things that the new soldiers did, the marching and all this kind of thing, and a few lectures. And they shipped me up to Camp Borden doing just general duties work, which really was just washing down aircraft and everything else, because there was this waiting period until they could sort of fit you into a class which would start your pilot career. So after a while of that, and that's when I met my wife, is when I was in Camp Borden, just doing those general duties. I was always a smart-ass kid, and I used to like dancing, and Ty and a bunch of the girls from Midland had come down to just keep company with whoever was there, and she happened to be standing with one of her friends and asked her for a dance. And I think we danced the rest of the night away, and we kind of liked each other, and it sort of started from there. We were pretty well confined to barracks, but I managed to sneak out the back way and got a lift up to Midland with another guy and who had a car, and so we did see a little bit of each other. From there, we went down to Toronto to the Eglinton Hut Club, which was, we called it ITS, Initial Training School, where they screen you. They put you in a link trainer to see if you have any capabilities. Yeah, it was very awkward, very strange, and not too sure, because this thing would sort of jerk and the wing would drop, and you were supposed to make sure that you stayed straight and level and in a straight line, and it was awkward. But don't forget, everybody who had to go through this, and so somehow they used it as a screening device, and I think it was to maybe measure if there was coordination there, and if so, then maybe you'd go on to bigger and better things. You attend classes like navigation classes and this kind of thing, and you're sort of starting on the way to becoming air crew. After I went through ITS, they shipped me to Mount Hope for actual flying training. They had Tiger Moss, two-winged aircraft, and after I soloed about 7 or 8 hours, I guess, which was fairly standard. And shortly after that, they sent me on a cross country, what they called a cross country, which meant I had to fly to London from Mount Hope, which is just outside of Hamilton. I was supposed to fly to London, land, and then take off and come on back home. Great. That was a cross-country trip. Well, don't ask how, but I guess I wasn't a very good map reader, because I ended up in just north of Elmira, and I landed my aircraft out of gas in a farmer's field, and they weren't very happy about that. And ordinarily they'd have scrubbed me, but they didn't. After that, I learned to map read a little, I guess, and I probably passed the cross-country test somehow. From there, we went to Cap Horton to fly bigger, faster aircraft, Harvards. This was quite a thrill, because they could move, they could do aerobatics, they could do all kinds of things with these. So one day, one of the instructors called me in and said, "Today we're going to do a cross-country trip under the hood. It's just a hood, and it goes over the cockpit, so you can't see outside. And so here you're flying on what we call needle ball airspeed and gyro and compass, and you have mapped a course where you're going to go, and you fly by time. You fly X number of minutes this way, and you make what they call a quarter turn this way, and you fly that for. So you fly this course. It's predetermined, and which I do. So the instructor, in the meantime, who's sitting in the front, he's fallen asleep. And after a while, he wakes up and he flips the hood, so now I can see, and he says, "Where the hell are we?" So I tell him where I think we should be. I was a long way off. So with this, he said, "Oh, geez, you balled me out." And so then he sort of took over control, and he found a railway line. What he did was he just sort of flew down the railway line until he came to the first station. And as we go by the station, we're right on the deck. He looks up and says, "What's the name of that station?" On the board. And I told him what it was, and he says, "We're home free." So from there, we sort of flew home. But that was the only indication that we could find out where the heck we were. And it's just unbelievable. Now, don't forget, there's a hell of a lesson there. Anytime I got lost, that guy would just find a railway station and read it off the board and home free. Now, it's strictly illegal. I went to, after I graduated from, and got my wings at Camp Borden, survival time, and it is award time for all of us. And it's a happy time, you know. That was, that ended fairly quickly, and they handed us our papers to report to so and so and so and so, and I was shipped to the first fighter operational training unit, which had just been established at Chicoutimi in Quebec, and I was there for 6 or 8 months. You get a bunch of kids and you give them these airplanes, and they're pretty hot, fast, and one day, two of the guys, I happened to room with one of them, had gone on a flight, and they saw this village church in a small town, small village, and there was a wedding coming out the front doors. So of course, you buzz them. You get as low as you can, and you scare the hell out of everybody, and that's fine. Well, I guess they disturbed this wedding party so much that the priest or minister, whoever, reported back to the station, and we had a wing commander, Reno, he was a tough egg, and he decided that he would just give them the old story about, he said, how high are these guys? Now, you can't tell how high an aircraft is, within 50, 100 feet. You can't do it. And the mayor at this point, who was at the wedding, he said, well, they were pretty low. And then he said, oh, but how low? Tell me in feet. So he looked around and says, that low. And an aircraft came busting the church again. And of course, oh God, that guy got really nailed. That low.